Hello everybody, Stick and Senai here, and today you're either watching this video because you want to get a pet banded water snake, or you're just stumbling across this video because you're subscribed. Either way, I hope you really enjoy, and let's go ahead and get into the banded water snake care guide. But first, let me tell you a bit about banded water snakes. They're a southeastern species of Nerodia, which is the North American water snake species complex. They're mainly piscivorous, which means they eat fish. However, they'll also eat amphibians, and in captivity, they'll also eat rodents and other small mammals. And they're really just a generalist species in the wild. They're not hard to care for, and they make much better pets than a lot of people will say. And, honestly, by the end of this video, you may even find that you could probably care for a banded water snake because honestly, their care is not that difficult. I find it to be about the same level as a corn or maybe king snake. But let's go ahead and get into the care guide. This is my banded water snake setup right here, and this is a very simplistic setup. I do plan on upgrading him. He's in a 10-gallon right now, but he's about a yearling. I've heard, and I would think, that about a 30 to 40 gallon would be great for an adult. It seems kind of big, but Nerodia are very, very active species of snakes. They utilize a bunch of the environment. I'll see mine out slithering around. He uses a lot of them. They're semi-arboreal and semi-aquatic, so you need to keep that into mind as well. That's what makes them a tiny bit harder than some other snakes. But they're also more fun to watch. It's not just like a ball python, which will just sit in one hide all the time. But let's go ahead and go over some of the basic things. First of all, you need a tank. I use a 10-gallon, as I already said, and it's just a grow out tank for him. I'm waiting till he gets bigger so I can upgrade him and have a nice live planted tank and everything. But kind of having it in this simple tank will allow me to demonstrate their care a lot better. Since this has a screen top that just kind of lifts off like that, I use these, I think they're Zilla cage clips, and they basically allow him not to be able to get out because, like most snakes, banded water snakes are escape artists, and he can easily push right up from inside the tank and get out. Another thing is heating. Banded water snakes come from the southeastern United States, which get very, very, very warm, especially in the summer months. So you're going to need to replicate that in your environment. Since I live in the natural habitat of the banded water snake, in fact, I found them all around my house, I've actually kept mine outside for part of the year, and he's done perfectly fine out there. In fact, giving your reptiles natural light is very, very beneficial to them. If you can, however, if you live somewhere like the north where it gets pretty cold, or just in areas that wouldn't really benefit the animal, obviously don't keep them outside. But if you can, and at least just for short periods of time, you can take them out. But if you're indoors, like I am right now, you're definitely going to need some sort of heating element. This is a mini halogen heat light, and this is a little basking platform. And you want it to stay around 90 to 95 degrees because these are very, very heat-loving snakes. They come from warmer weather. They're not like their cousins, Nerodia sipodon or the northern water snake, which can live as far north as Maine. But Nerodia fasciata is definitely a more heat-loving species. For humidity of the tank, I'd recommend probably about 40 to 60% at high intervals. You don't want it to get too high because that could cause things like scale rot or respiratory infections in them. However, too low of a humidity will as well. So you could always give them a humid hide. I know it gets pretty humid up under this water dish where actually he likes to spend most of his time, so they'll spend a lot of time in humid areas. And also you have to keep in mind they are a water snake, so they're semi-aquatic. So they really like that nice humidity. So now let's get into the actual features inside the tank, and we'll get him out and talk a little bit more about that. Here's the inside of my banded water snake enclosure, and keep a reminder, there's not really a set way to care for these like there is ball pythons or corn snakes. This is just what I do. But right here is a warm hide. It gets really, really warm. Right here is a more cool hide with some moss inside of it that he can curl up in. And this is a humid hide underneath this water dish where he spends the majority of his time. And also I give him some rocks and different things, some branches, but we can go step by step. For substrate, I use a mixture of coconut fiber and cypress mulch, which allows him to dig. In fact, right there, that is one of his little burrows. They actually do like to burrow, or at least he does. He likes to burrow around. He likes to dig under. It allows them to thermoregulate. And it's also really easy to spot clean because you can just kind of scoop out the soiled areas. The next things are these big flat rocks, and these retain a lot of heat. And also this one in particular, I actually feed him on this rock, so he's starting to get to know, but we'll get into feeding in a little bit. But yeah, I recommend giving them some climbing opportunities as they are semi-arboreal in the wild. They like to hang over bits of water, and when they see predators, they'll jump straight into it. And also what I found in this water dish, you need a fairly sizable water dish. I like putting rocks inside of it because they like to curl around things. They have a semi-prehensile tail, and I found that having his tail curled around something helps him to feel more safe, I think, or at least he doesn't really freak out as much when he has like his tail curled around my fingers or whatnot. But let's go ahead and get him out. I need to take out this branch, and then I'll take out his water dish, and he should be under. Actually, is he not? Well, I see a little bit of a burrow right here, so yep, there he is. You can see, as I already said, he loves to dig underneath this. There he is. He loves to dig underneath his fiber. Oh, there he goes. You see, they're very, very active snakes. Look at him go. And he's still fairly small as it is. Doesn't really understand glass too well, and he's a little bit skittish, but once I get him out, he is relatively calm. There we go. Here he is. Such a beautiful snake. And although at first they can seem fairly standoffish and even quite defensive in some circumstances, they can really tame down very well with handling. This is almost corn snake level of being tame. But he is absolutely great. Never musked on me. He's never bitten me. I couldn't really even think of him biting me, whether it be for food or actually maybe for food. He's can be quite food aggressive. But these guys can do very well with handling. However, some wild-caught individuals can do very, very poorly with handling. And handling can stress them out, and they can bite, and their bites contain an anticoagulant, which means that your blood won't really clot if you get bitten by them. So you'll just continue to bleed for a little while. It's nothing life-threatening, obviously. These are a very harmless species of snake. I've been bitten by tons, dozens of them. But they are an absolutely beautiful species as well. You can see those bands, how they get their name. And they actually mimic the water moccasin, which is a venomous snake in the southeast and across the entire eastern seaboard. This actually makes the... Oh, there he kind of freaked out a little bit. But this will cause them to get killed by people, which is very unfortunate because they're a beneficial species of snake to have in the area. But yeah, we can put him back and we can talk about some other aspects of their care. Or maybe he'll just stay out. I don't know. He kind of does what he wants. Let's put him back. There he goes. And let's talk about some other things. So feeding of these guys is fairly simple because these are very food-motivated snakes. As I said, they eat basically anything, really. I feed mine frozen thawed and live rosy red minnows. And I'll occasionally feed him frogs as well. I haven't fed him rodents just yet, but maybe when he gets a little bit bigger, I may try. The best way I recommend feeding is with tongs. I'll throw in a little video of me actually tong feeding him right now. but he will eat just about anywhere, and he eats just about anything. I fed him in his water dish, and I'll feed him in like a little feeding container, and I'll feed him in his enclosure. He doesn't really care as long as he's getting food. And they use that amazing tongue to collect the taste molecules of their food, and then they'll use their incredibly stretchy ligaments in their jaws so they can swallow things just about as big as their head. And I can feed him about 5 rosy red minnows in one sitting, about once a week. And he is by far the most healthy, heavy-bodied Nerodia fasciata I have ever seen. Now for the water, I'd recommend changing it about once or twice a week. Nothing really that extreme, or obviously whenever the snake defecates in it, that the water then needs to be cleaned immediately. And that brings me to one of the drawbacks about these snakes, is that they defecate fairly regularly along kind of the interval of when you feed them, but they smell awful. Like the feces that comes out of these snakes smells terrible. It smells like dead fish, which is it's what you put in is what comes out of the snake, really. But otherwise, they're phenomenal pet snakes. And honestly, I don't really understand why they aren't getting as much traction as other species. One thing to note about Nerodia and all water snakes, really, not just the banded water snakes, are that they're a natricine, which are in the family of garter snakes, ringneck snakes, and the likes, is that natricines generally don't do as well in captivity as colubrines, which are the other group of colubrids that are commonly kept in captivity. But natricines will, for no reason really, they'll be perfectly healthy one day, and the next day they'll be dead. Nobody really knows why this happens, but it's very common in water snakes and garter snakes especially, so you have to be careful. And obviously, if you get a wild-caught individual, this is more likely to happen due to parasite overload or stress or disease or anything like that. This banded water snake was actually wild-caught originally. I didn't buy him from an importer. I actually caught him myself because they're native to the area, and he's a very good educational animal. He's pretty good with kids and adults as well. He's done the whole shebang. But water snakes, all in all, really just make good pets. If you're willing to put in just a little bit more effort to keep them than you would, say, a corn snake or a king snake, they make great pets. And I think it's kind of nice to have something that not everybody keeps, say a ball python or a corn snake or, I don't know, a Kenyan sand boa or anything. Definitely not a Kenyan sand boa. You never see them, unlike the water snakes and even garter snakes. Another really good thing about water snakes is that you can keep them together. You can actually cohab them. They do very well in groups, and I'm planning on keeping him in a group. And I've heard in at least some cases they can be kept with garter snakes and do perfectly fine. So I don't know if that's really true. I think that might be a little bit more anecdotal evidence than is actual fact. But I'm definitely planning on keeping him with some other water snakes and probably going to breed him in the future once he gets up to size, which he's grown very quickly. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a long time. School has hit like a freight train, at least for me. But nevertheless, be expecting another video in the next little while. Maybe a Halloween special. I'm planning on doing one of those this year. And if you would like to know where to actually buy, like some nice, good sources to buy water snakes from, feel free to leave a comment below. Or if you have any questions about their care that I didn't cover because I may have missed something, this video was pretty impromptu, then definitely feel free to leave a comment. And yeah, subscribe if you're not already. I think our friend Inadu is going to go into his warm hide. And without further ado, Colsaurus Dickinsoni and Inadu, signing out.